Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
Tomorrow is opening day.
This morning, didn't have a great hunt. Deer didn't move like usual.
We just got set up in the middle of this bedding thicket. We've been saving this spot from the rut. It's a nice, I think it's a nice buck.
Boom! Hits a 170.
That was money. I think he's down right over there, maybe 10 yards.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy.
Baller rut.
We got bars and we got snares in our headphones. We're having a little technical difficulty like normal. We're still learning. We're almost 2 years in. Still can't figure out how to click the buttons to make this thing work. But here we go. It's Whitetail Wednesday coming at you. We got Byron Horton on tonight or today on Wednesday when you guys are going into your ear holes. Prime Rib Day. Prime Rib Day. Bush Light Day for us.
AC ripping in the
AC
background
ripping
day.
in the background on this intro. I'm jacked for this episode. I'm also jacked because it's season in Illinois now. I'm also jacked. This episode was a banger.
Yeah, it's very good.
If you are hunting public or thinking about public, this is an episode for you to listen to. Check out the Whitetail Experience page. They got a lot of good public content there. Byron's a great dude. Started a friendship with him. I'm excited to watch their season fall out and excited to keep this collaboration going and maybe reach out at the end of the season and see how they did on public and kind of see what our goals. We went over our goals, their tactics, kind of what we think might work because we don't really know anything.
The difference in goals just explains the gap in where you're at and where I'm at with hunting and hunting public and just the whole bit.
Yep, it does. It's cool how like we always say, we're a little bit different. We make each other better by being a little bit different because we're always challenge each other on what we're doing or just having that different outlook, different set of eyes is key. So let's get into the people that make this possible, and we'll get into the show. Start out with the VIP Veteran Broadhead, the title sponsor. I was shooting the veterans the other night at 30, low light. I was doing kind of like a rush shot deal, and they were flying nice, man. I love that you can just get them out of the package, screw them on, and you're ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I remember back in the day, trying to get something to dial in and struggling a little bit. I haven't really heard anybody have a complaint about them not flying true. So it seems like they're shooting out of crossbows, great also.
Yep.
And the 175, I haven't heard anything about that. How about that guy? What do you even call that goat that he shot? Was that New Zealand or something?
I'm not sure
I'm
what
not
he called
sure
it.
what, but that guy is just shooting the crap
guy's
out of
everywhere,
stuff with
dude.
the veteran. I need to get his name because he's just killing everything with it. So that guy is shooting some exotics in different countries with the veteran. So that's awesome to get those international kills.
Yep. All right, and getting into this week's VIP Veteran Broadhead shout-out. This week's shout-out is Jonathan Scholl. He is the Appalachian Custom Call owner. We had him on episode 68. Be able to go back and listen to that. John was a 95 Bravo, and he commented that on our Facebook post. So, Jonathan, we appreciate your service. We enjoyed talking with you, and we can't wait to get some of them calls out there this spring and get them all fired up.
Let's go to ECW calls. I want to give a shout-out to Thor. What's his last name? Help me out. We're going to look at Nichols. He bought ECW call, and he's blown away by it. Loves that it's made by a veteran. Love that it's custom made. He said he's going to get one for his wife
and his father or father-in-law.
His father and his father-in-law. But he reached out. He's a big listener to the podcast. We wanted to give him a special shout-out for buying the call, supporting us and our sponsors, and also being cool and message us. We say that all the time, like, Don't be afraid to message us, and he did it, and I think that's awesome. And we struck a friendship up with him, so I wanted to give him a special shout-out on this episode to just say thanks, man. Appreciate you clicking that play button. Appreciate you talking to us, telling us what you're enjoying, and just talking regular deer hunting with another guy, because that's what we like to do. That's why we created this podcast.
He's got a 2-week jump on us with season.
I know. He's got a stud he's chasing, too. He showed me some pictures, so I'm jacked for him. It seems like he's really at that stage where he's getting into it hardcore.
Nice.
So it's fun. It's going to be fun to see his season transition through the year.
What?
What did I say?
You were gonna transition and progress and
next to transgress.
Yeah, that's gonna be nice when
that's
that
gonna
plays.
be nice. Everybody's gonna be like, "Oh God, why don't I even listen to this show?"
Right?
I can't kill big deer. I can't talk. I can't write. Can't speak. I don't know what
Can't spell.
I can't spell at all. I don't know what I'm good at besides this. Crack. Okay, cracking cold ones. Got that covered. What do we got? Scent lock. I got the bag out over there.
I do. How do you have the burrs on it already?
Bro, do you know where I hunt? The birds just travel with me everywhere I go, but I'm sure that came off something from turkey season or something that I threw in there. Because I was wearing my face mask for turkey season.
Could have been when we were pulling cams on public.
Yeah, it could have definitely been that. But I got the bag out in the corner. I actually plugged it in and ran it. I figured I like all the stuff that's in there. I give it a couple really good.
Everything's still holding up on it?
Everything's still holding up good.
Hell yes.
I'm brutal on gear. Everything I have is half broken besides that Sitlock bag. So, what do we got?
Ingram.
Oh, Ingram. Dude, I'm blown away by the stuff he's putting out right now. Season's here, guys, and this guy has went his stuff was good, but then he just soared here recently. He's got something figured out. It's just uniqueness stuff's coming out. Waterfowl, turkey. That turkey, he's gluing pig hairs to the head and stuff. Like the detail is the floating stuff in the water. That set that off. And then the water, different colors at different depths.
Like it had washed up and
just washed up. I'm like, oh, dude, the detail is so intense. You know what I mean?
I think maybe he's figured out how to manage his time better and now that he's full time, he knows he has a lot more time to spend, and that's what we're seeing.
Breaking down and really seeing the skill come out.
Yeah.
So instead of like a normal taxidermist, you got so many heads part time trying to pump stuff up. He's taking his time and really creating epic stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So. Big shout out to him.
Definitely pumped for him to
been crushing
what's going to be coming.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to just shoot a duck now just to get one. I don't even duck hunt very much. I go occasionally, but he had a snow flying. He's mounting
he had a blue.
Yeah, blue something.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's mounting a crap load of waterfowl right now, which is cool because that's huge around our area. So big shout out to Ingram. You guys hear him all every week. He's been with us since the beginning, man.
Way back.
He believed in us way back, so we can't thank him enough for continuing another year with us.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we get $4 or $6. $6
Yeah. That'd be
really
best
solid,
case scenario.
$6. Nothing over 130 for me, guaranteed, but at least 6 of them there. All right, that's it. You guys are gonna enjoy this show. You listen to us. Have some fun at the beginning, but there's a lot of tactics. Get some notes out for this one if you're ready to attack the public ground and kill your first or your 10th public land buck. There's something you can pick up in this episode. All right, we got Byron Horton on from the Whitetail Experience. Thanks for coming on tonight, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Looking forward to this for a while.
Yeah, I know. We've been trying to get this lined up for a while. It's hard. You're a busy man. We're busy man. Season's coming up or in for a lot of people, so it's hard to nail one of these down and spend the hour on the phone, but we appreciate your time.
Yeah, and again, man, both of us trying to get out some content, record podcasts, edit videos, and then wait, most importantly, try and kill some deer, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's coming up on us. Luckily we got our stuff done early, and we just had cams soaking for 5 weeks, and we got enough out that we feel like we covered some areas that we knew were good anyways, and whatever we pull is what's going to be because we decided not to go back in there and make a move on them. So we hung some in summer range, some in fall range, and hopefully we get some bucks transitioning from one area to the other and we can catch them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We start in 10 days, and I'll be doing a decent amount of glassing. Maybe I can get out 1 or 2 times here next week and finish up some broadhead tuning. I'm just antsy to go at this point.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. We're ready to go. I'm nervous, man, because we lost a lot of our shooters on the private, but we'll see. They're slowly trickling back
I was
in.
gonna say they're coming back a little bit.
They did that shed velvet gone for 11, 12 days deal that they do every year on us, and every year like they're all dead.
Yeah,
you see all the
and
EHD stuff online, you're like, oh man, they're all dead.
Dude, and then I feel like on public, like we get the dove squirrel blasters that sabotage us. We had a buck pretty located, and we knew once we saw him and repeatedly saw him, I was like, he'll never be there come opening day, just because it's like right next to like a pretty popular like dove area, and any sort of squirrel blaster, it's like something that you got to like account for. I feel like is locating those deers after the small game season start.
Yeah, I did that same thing. As I got a bunch of cams right on the backside of a dove field this year, and we had a mega giant on public found, and I'm interested to see what happened. It'd be cool to see if it coordinated with, when dove season started, that he did disappear or something, and that's something you can kind of game plan for next year. That it's always hard to decide how much they're put up with, you know what I mean, since it is a dove field, they're used to people being there. Are they going to put up with it, or is it going to be like any other area? They're just going to roll out. So,
Sure.
I think we get into the meat of the show here. Hunting public, something I've done for a long time. I used to be solely public, and then I stumbled into some incredible ground, some luck with some buddies who was like, hey, this piece has been overlooked for a while, and you might want to see what's on. He's like, I never really seen any big deer on it, and then it happened to be a mega. So, but I used to hunt solely public, and that's something that we're going, since I lost that ground, we're going back hardcore on it this year, and homie's going to do his first sit on public this year.
Yep.
So he's pretty excited about that, but I'm excited to have you on and break down some public land tactics. I know I can learn a lot. When I was hunting public, it was more of a find the pinch points, find some sign kind of deal, but I know you can break it down strategically a lot more, and since I've grown just over the past 5-6 years, my outlook on public now is completely different than it was back then. So let's just do a short introduction for the listeners.
Sure. So like I said, Byron Horton out of Columbus, Ohio. I am kind of the producer or founder of the Whitetail Experience, kind of like a online web show, a lot of content, all kind of really centered around public land. Dabble in some very small private pieces on a very slim occasion, but public lands where I cut my teeth, and the Whitetail Experience is kind of how I guess hone some of my videography, photography, and editing skills. We're starting to branch out now and do some side work with a few companies, including Lone Wolf Custom Gear. Used to run around with a New Breed and Kyle Knoll for a bit, but my main focus is definitely like public land, and I would say it was kind of founded because I felt like early in my bow hunting career, I was kind of like tricked from the industry. I was thinking I needed to shoot Rage broadheads and these Carbon Express arrows, and to kill deer was about sitting on field edges, and I shouldn't be shooting 100 inchers, and that's all I knew. I didn't have any good hunting mentors, and kind of started dabbling in some public land, and I just started to evolve and realized that, man, like there's information out there for the average guy to really actually start being able to kill some good deer, and that I was just so tricked by watching so much, I don't know, general outdoor television, and that's kind of how I started the Whitetail Experience, and wanted to show that the average guy putting in more work and how he can actually kill deer, and he doesn't have to shoot the latest bow, and he doesn't have to have the best of the best broadhead or arrow setup. That it's more about the scouting, it's more about the woodsmanship, it's about putting gas in your truck. That's more valuable than any piece of equipment. So that's how I got started, man.
That's cool, man. I agree with you. Hunting season is getting closer, so YouTube's on a lot at my house when the kids aren't picking something to watch. But if you watch a lot of them, it's hard to relate, man. That for us, a lot of it is, they're sitting over a bait pile. They haven't done a lot of scouting. They wait the deer to come to them, or they're at an outfitter where they haven't done much work. You know what I mean? So I like watching your guys' stuff as well as a lot of other people's, because you know that this guy has found this deer, put the work in, and got on him, instead of showing up to an outfitter. And because I bet you 80% of stuff that you watch on TV or even online, a lot of it is probably less online, but at least 80% is a guy at an outfitter that has no idea what deer he's about to shoot until the guy shows him a picture, and then they name it real quick, and then they say, "Oh, we've been getting pictures of this deer for 3 years." Well, it's actually the outfitter that's been getting the pictures, and they just seen him, 2 days ago for the first time on cam, So.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just feel like, the guy shows up and pulls the trigger, but he didn't do any scouting. He didn't figure that deer out. I even enjoy like watching even private films as long as that guy's kind of breaking down and working for that deer and actually like, putting that puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get. You said that you've been doing a lot of scouting lately. I wanna kind of get your idea of how to approach a public land area that you wanted to scout, and then maybe we'll bounce some ideas back and forth. I got some questions that if you don't cover, I'd like to ask.
Sure. And I think it'd be cool to like just bounce back and forth between what you're doing and what we've got going on and what you're seeing. I mean, I know you're a successful guy in the whitetail woods, but I would honestly look at this as like a year-round approach. I feel like that was the biggest thing when I started, being able to get on deer in general and get on a higher caliber of buck on public. It went from some scouting and some, a decent amount of hunting to, dude, I did, for example, last winter I put on 70 miles in the timber. And so I think it takes that year-round approach, and literally if you kill a buck and you're done in December, you need to be scouting at that point if you're going to tackle a public piece of any size, or even a few public pieces. That's always something I like to recommend to guys, is having a backup plan, but attacking a few pieces and starting as early as you can. Because we got families and we got stuff going on. So it's something that as soon as you can, you need to be in that timber, learning it, finding food sources, browse, bedding areas, especially bedding areas, other hunter pressure, private land food. It's one of those things that boots to the ground is like the biggest thing. I do a lot of e-scouting. I probably look at maps 2 hours a week, year round, and obviously more during season and when I'm about to go for a boots on the ground scouting mission. But you really learn from actually putting boots to the ground. Something can look great on aerials, and you go in there and there's 3 ladder stands already there, and it's just cold. And so yeah, I would say that's the biggest piece to the puzzle that I've seen. And then it kind of just rolls into obviously shed hunting in the spring, and starting to sprinkle out some cameras maybe during turkey season. I'm not a huge turkey hunter. I have no idea what I'm doing. And then come summer, with something I like to do if I'm looking at a piece or maybe a new piece, is, okay, I've scouted it. I've laid all these pins out. I kind of need to look at access a little more by repeating visits to these places. And obviously by driving those roads, I'm glassing, I'm spending time there, I'm learning those type of pieces. And maybe the DNR didn't mow an access route that used to be mowed. And so that piece now becomes tougher to access, or you realize, hey, I can pull off the road here and jot down an easement that you never knew was there, because the first time you were there, you parked your truck, I don't know, half mile down the road and came in that way. So I feel like between winter scouting rolls right into summer scouting, and I don't put as much emphasis on summer scouting. I sprinkle some trail cameras around. I like to run them in easy to access spots, especially in farm country. I feel like farm country, my favorite setup is putting it on like a private bean field on the border. I'd say in the big woods, I prefer creek crossings, and that's really because I can double and look at tracks. Generally, creek crossings are a natural funnel anyway, so I'm getting a few more pictures of them crossing that creek. And there's only a few creek crossings, say for a 50 to 100 yard strip, and so I like I like those kind of things in the big woods. But yeah, I mean, I would say just the year-round style approach with a heavy emphasis on winter scouting.
I'd say we're the same here. We took a big dive this year, dove in to public, and covered the whole thing pretty much, 2 different properties, and really didn't leave an inch uncovered. And I got back to one spot, and I think, was I on the phone with you? Or maybe I was FaceTiming you, but I was like, man, this looks really good. And then I found a shed that was like 3 years old laying right out in the open. So I'm like, man, no one's been back here for a long time. You know what I mean? And I was like, coyote probably drug it in here or something and dropped, you know what I mean? But it was like up underneath the grass, and the tips were dark, you know, and the rest of it was white and chalky. I was like, man, this thing hasn't moved, you know, for a long time. So once I seen that, I was like, man, there's been no one back here.
Yeah.
So,
is that the piece you may favor or start your pursuit at? Or if you said you were going to hunt 10 hunts, you'd put 7 of them on that piece?
The entire piece, probably yes. The other piece is good, but the pressure's just so much higher. We also, me and homie went back there, and to get there, I mean, a lot of people say they got tough access, but this is up there and what I've done to access a spot. If we shoot a buck, where you're gonna have to be a cut up, pack out kind of deal, because it's just impossible. It's not long distance. I mean, it's probably a mile and a half.
It's 3/4 of a mile.
3/4, yeah. So it's 3/4 of a mile from where we can drive. Yeah. But there's just a couple ravines and stuff that literally are just,
you got a bear crawl out of.
Well, we had to cut our way into it. Like we had to take handsaws and cut our way in to be able to get back there. And then I told homie, I said, man, there's no one back here. And then we got right on the edge, 2 trail cams. I'm like, oh man. But so we went about 250 yards, 300 yards past them where I wanted to go. And it's just one of those spots. I walked all the way to, like you said, the neighboring ag, checked it out, and seeing where they were crossing the fence heavy. That's one thing I like about the winter. You can see, you know, that grass is dead, and when you get that rethaw, they get like a really good mud spot where they're hopping the fence. You can look for tracks, get an idea of what's been going through there, and then follow it back to where you think they're bedding, you know what I mean, without even running trail cameras. You can get a pretty good idea of those winter trails, even if it's in tall grass, they're kind of knocked down, and follow it back to bedding, and then kind of put the puzzle together. And the spot that I found that shed is just in a perfect pinch point, where there's a bunch of drop-offs and some water that the water's got a bunch of little saplings grown up in it, like almost a swamp, where, I mean, a deer could go through there, but the water's probably 6 foot deep with trees growing all over in it, so I don't think it's going to happen. And it's going to pinch him into 30 yards. So anything, and there's like no trees there. It's overgrown pasture, and there's one tree right by.
You just said my favorite word, man.
There's one tree right by where we need to be, and that's the only tree out there you get to stand in, and it's right there where that pinch is. And there's a little pool of water behind there, and there's an assload of tracks down right in that little pool of water right behind there. So we know that there's deer using it in the summer, but I think it's a more of a, you know, it's rut. You got a doe coming back to bed, and a buck's behind it. You know, that's what I see it being as key. The wind's going to be hard to hunt there.
Yeah.
But the access is kind of tough. But I told, you know, it's one of those places that we decided as a team that if we go in, no matter what time of year, it's all day. Because if you get the deer back to the ag, then you can get out. You know what I mean? If you let them go to the ag, or if you let them come off the ag and then you try to get out, you're going to bump them all out. But we decided that if we're going to go in there, we'll be a pack-in hunt. Homie bought a lone wolf set, going hardcore on public, bought a brand new lone wolf set, getting it set up, got the lock and walk set up.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. All season scouting. I do it with shed season just because you get to scout, you get to see all that past sign, you get to see, okay, there's 3-4 scrapes here. You know, maybe I'm not going to hunt it, but this might be a good place to hang a cam and see what's in the area, you know, next year. That's kind of how I dig it, just like you. A lot of bean field scouting. with us, if we find summer bucks, they leave. There's very seldom that, unless we have past history with a deer. If we have past history with a deer, we feel like, and he's into the summer, we're like, okay, this buck's going to stay. But if we find a new buck, that thing is gone. It seems like every year. Don't it? I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I also look at it, say like public land. If you see like a shooter, right, I feel like that lets you know in the summer, okay, that's proof of life. And so that means that caliber of buck can be there. And I feel like, too, with public, it's not necessarily, at least with me, on the pieces I hunt that are, I would say they're bigger-ish, but medium to big. I know what the public land looks like here in Ohio. You know, you can have, a 200-acre small section, but you could have, you know, we've got 3 big national forests that are thousands and thousands. I feel like, you know, the pieces we hunt, there's some good size. And so you're not necessarily hunting one buck, but you're definitely trying to hunt the best place or the best doe bedding to kill a good buck, you know, something that tickles our fancy. And so like individual deer, I'm not really too hung up about. It'll give me a starting point or something maybe to look at, but also just knowing that caliber of deer, you know, from like that shed antler, okay, there was a good one in here. I'm going to pursue this a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, that's kind of how I am. Even, you know, on the private piece, I don't know kind of how my public venture is going to turn out. We'll get into that more as the season comes in. But just like on the private, you know, like I just group all the deer into like, you know, a shooter category. Like you're either a shooter or you're not, you know. I'm not to the point in my hunting career to where I could just like find a buck and like go after that buck and like that's the only buck I'm going to shoot, you know.
Right. And my partner Dave, my business partner, kind of the another guy here on the Whitetail experience, like he talks about it all the time. He goes, okay, I could go here and hunt deer and I could probably see some does and maybe some small bucks, but where do I need to hunt today to kill a good one? Where's a good one going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a tough, man. Depends on the time of the year, but one thing I will like to say, even when I was on public, solely public, when you find a spot that holds good bucks, there's a reason that there's good bucks there. So there's going to be good bucks there again. I feel like that's not something that a lot of people say. In my experience, even on public, unless something crazy happens where the pressure explodes, like last year when I was hunting public, I've never not sat in this spot and had an encounter with a really good deer. And last year, pressure was high, never seen a shooter in daylight. So
yeah,
I got a couple on cam. I got quite a few on cam, but I never seen one in daylight. And that would be the third year I was hunting there. So 2 years in a row, I had shooter bucks within 70 yards. And last year, pressure went up, nothing. But
Was it 2 years ago? You had the same buck two
Yeah.
different times.
Yeah, 2 years had the same buck. Two different times out come out in 65, 70 yards. You know, I'm just not comfortable with that. So, but yeah, and then I had that deer pegged. I'd circle around after dark, and I'd pull into this drive and scan this field. Boom, he'd be out there feeding. I'm like, all right, I know where he's going. He's going to this feed field, but I never could. I should have went on the grounds. What I should have done. I told homie. I don't know how many times we've said that. It was we just need to do some radical stuff and go in on the ground because I probably could have killed that deer or at least got an opportunity. But I'm shy on that stuff, man. I like to be up to where I can see and go from there. But I think
dude,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, like last year, dude, out of state, I did 2 out of state hunts. Well, 3 out of state hunts, but I went to Indiana twice, and those pieces I didn't know, and so I spent a lot of time on the ground, dude. And I was shocked at what I was able to like get away with or get on deer. And like I passed like 2 deer in Indiana, 100 inchers. I hit like a 130 in the shoulder. Here in Ohio, dude, we were sneaking into a piece to hunt an acorn flat, and I look, and here's a doe at like 45 yards. I looked at my buddy because he hadn't killed a lot of deer, and I said, shoot this deer if we can. And he didn't even have a release, so I tossed him my release. He wraps it up, and we toast this doe on the ground because we spotted that doe at like 40, 50, and she worked to like 20. And
Nice.
I am shocked at what sometimes, like, I feel like we overlook that ground game. and even like hanging low tree stands, dude. That's something I'm doing more and more of. You mentioned old field edge or old pasture, dude, and that's something I'm really keying in on as far as that's not stuff normal deer hunters look at and say, oh yeah, I'm going to go hunt that. And dude, I am finding sheds in those places. That's where I killed my buck last year. In a tree 2 sticks high, and he worked his way in an hour before like dark. And so, dude, I'm definitely a fan. When you said, oh, this place has got old field edge or old pasture, I'm like, dude, that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's I've always said that CRP, old pasture, not really even CRP, just grass with trees growing up it, nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Me and homie, we hunt a piece. Yeah,
in.
me and homie hunt a piece, and I set high I climbed way up in a cedar tree packing hunt one night, and I seen like 12, 13 deer, and they were just standing up out of the middle of nowhere, and if you would have walked in, you would have bumped them, and that's when I told him, I said, man, accessing this thing, that's one bad thing about those places. The bucks can bed literally anywhere in that. So you have to be really careful on your access of what are you going to do, but like we decided sometimes you just hunt, if you got to get there, it's a good spot. Just get in there early, try to beat them back from the ag, and then stay there until they go back to the ag. So
that's right.
You're not burning it out. But I think this is a good place to transition into kind of how you guys. So we went into how you scout. So let's go ahead and talk about how you attack public land or how you hunt it.
Sure. I think first and foremost, like having a few good places is key. Obviously, like we've got a couple years experience, which helps. We got a couple hunting holes, which helps. But we're always trying to poke around and hunt some stuff that we pick up and want to hunt new this year. But yeah, I would say as far as hunting, we look at the season as far as every 10 days stuff is shifting. Every even week stuff is shifting. And so being mobile is definitely the name of the game for us. And the power of the first time sit, like that's just been recited over and over. But like that was something that took me from being an okay deer hunter to like that next level. And we started actually back in the day. This has probably been 12-ish years ago in college, dude. We had those junk $100 Field and Stream climbers that were 30 pounds, loud and annoying. But we'd see deer. We'd get on deer. We would climb different trees and stuff like that. And then obviously once we got a little money, we were able to get the lighter climbers. And so now obviously it's full stand sticks. That seems to be the name of the game there. And having so many good spots is definitely key. So the scouting plays into that. And so I'm able to go, okay, season's about to open up. I know this field this year is alfalfa, which is going to be hot. These beads are definitely cold, so that alfalfa now is probably the best food source in the area. Oh, this piece over here, I know there's a couple pin oaks, and those are going to be pretty good this year because the oak crop's down. My big wood stuff, I know where the better hay fields are. So it comes down to having done your homework, and then it's literally, once the season goes off, it's still scouting in season. A lot of times I feel like on evening hunts, we definitely go in with a certain location in mind, but dude, every step you're looking at things and you're realizing if it's getting hot or not based on, rubs, scrapes, tracks, browsing pressure. Dude, how many guys walk by Greenbrier and don't even check if it's been browsed? That's something that we've really started noticing and taking notes in on X on those different things. I would say looking at access, you mentioned that earlier, and that's something that when we look at hunting, we look at places that are, we have places like called the Hellhole, which is a terrible access, dude. It's literally a mile long. And then we got another place called Death Valley that is literally the easement's 400 yards. Then you got to turn and walk across an 800, maybe 1,000-yard field before you even get to public land. And how many guys are even able to drag a deer that far or hunt those type of pieces? So that's something we're looking at when we're hunting, is those factors. I'm trying to think what else. Other hunter pressure. You mentioned that earlier, that apiece, had shooters back-to-back years, was very hot. Dude, if we walk in and it's cold because Timmy got a 410 and is now squirrel hunting his butt off in a certain area, we got to be able to recognize that and pull out. And that's something we're getting better at, I feel. You know, we're trying to not like fall in love with locations and old hunts. And so pulling out of those and going to find what's hot and where there's a good one at this year is something we definitely kind of are adapting to and doing more and more of. And maybe that's some of that ground hunting, you know, is playing into that as well. I'm trying to think what else we do that's kind of slightly different or next level. I would say the rut is definitely, you've got to have your hunting holes. You've got to have those doe bedding areas that you know are going to still hold does, especially after the out-of-state pressure picks up. I would say our state, Ohio, is a cheaper over-the-counter tag. It's the first state to the east, and so we see a flux of pressure. So we may experiment a little more in October and then go to our hunting holes and come November and hunt those areas that are a little tougher to get to because you have to. That's where everything's been pushed back to. Those are a couple of those, you know, leading into November edge. Gun season's a totally different game. Late season's a little different game, but that's, I think, a decent run through of what we're doing into October to even all the way in late November. We got a late gun season. So to be honest, that final week of November, that is the cruising, last guys cruising. We hunt a lot of pinch points that late in the year. 2 years ago, I can think of a day right around Thanksgiving, Dave missed, and he'll admit to this, dude, he had 2 debacles in one day and missed 2 shooters. And 2 weeks later, we went in there for gun season. I shot the buck that he missed with his bow. But it's one of those things that we kind of are shifting what we're doing almost weekly.
That's a good tactic, man, because like you said, I feel like on public you have to play it by ear a lot more than you do on private. It's just pressure is number one. You know, there's challenges to both public and private, but the pressure, it will take a good spot down to nothing. You know what I mean? In a day. You know, like you said, if someone's in there squirrel blasting or it's shotgun season, and here, which I do not like, late season. Well, I like that they leave a lot of ag, but they also allow anybody that has a shotgun tag left to go to the public ground and fill it on a doe.
Oh, geez.
And, man, it's rough. I went out there this year and had some bad encounters, you know what I mean, where people see me in the tree, I'm bow hunting, I'm packed in a stand, I'm pretty deep, and here comes someone with a gun and takes a shot at a doe at 150 yards and sees me in the tree. I'm bright orange waving at him like, don't do it. Don't do it, you know, and he's shooting past me, you know, to shoot at these does, and then don't even go see if there's any blood on the ground. I got to get down and go up there and look and see if he hit the dang thing, you know what I mean? But that's something I do not like. But we get a lot of out-of-state pressure, too. One quick story. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, do you see the flux? You guys are obviously like a premier state, a little bit higher tag, though. And I wondered how that affected out-of-state pressure.
We see a lot of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, a ton. Seems
sure.
Like everybody.
You guys see the okay.
Yeah. The people that leased right next to me and killed one of the biggest 8-pointers I've ever seen in my life and had the chance to hunt is from Pennsylvania, and it was the second deer he's ever killed. And it is 184-inch 8.
Okay.
So it's absolutely mega. But, yeah, they leased, I don't even know how many there is. We heard how many gunshots we hear opening morning?
42, I think.
Yeah, 42 on their side of the fence during shotgun. They just let it rain. But public Wisconsin guy, nothing against Wisconsin. I love you guys. It's a badass place to live. But I hung a stand in this spot. It was probably late October, mid-October, right before the rut. And it was hot, man. There's a lot of sign. And it was one of those places where I was like, man, this isn't real far back, but I'm not going to let this sign go. I'm going to hang this stand. I'll come back I was leaving that night, hung it at night, and I was going to come back the next evening and hunt. Well,
Sure.
I came back that next evening, and my stand was at the base of the tree. It's a Scout's Honor with a note on it in a plastic bag that says, "This is my number. I'm from Wisconsin. I've hunted this tree the last 5 years." He's like, "Your stand's here. Your sticks are up on top by the CRP field next to this log. Call me, and I'll give you directions to them."
God.
I was like, holy smoke. So I wasted this time hanging a stand in the dark, and then come back the next day and it's on the ground. But during the rut, man, I just stay off there. There is some really nice deer that are shot off that piece of public during the rut. And it seems like it's funny because you go back to the parking lot when I was hunting there, and they're like, "Did you see that 11-pointer?" The guy's like, "Yeah, I seen it." And then other guy's like, "Yeah, I seen it." And then other guy's like, "Oh, yeah, I shot it." It's like it's the same buck that's just cruising for does, and everybody's seeing it because everybody's kind of just hunting the same areas,
Sure. Now let me stop you real quick. We'll talk after the show, and I'll get the name of that piece, and we'll talk later.
All right. Yeah. It's not a bad piece. There's a lot of people that hunt it. And there's every year there's a giant that's shot off of it, like random as hell. I had a guy, when that guy shoot it last year off that power line cut, like the 15th it was something. It was really early October, and he shot a mid 150s 10-pointer, off of a kind of a pinch point power line cut where there's like a main trail that everybody hunts, and then like 80 yards to the north of it, there's like that unknown buck trail, and that's where I cut my teeth on public, and it's good. Late season, it's great because they leave a bunch of food, and if you can get there before the gun hunters, it's really good. But
yeah. Do you think, and this is something I noticed, hunting different states and stuff, but like here, if I see an out-of-state plate, like in the parking lot, I almost think that guy's obviously knows what he's doing a little more than what I call the dicky mows. Like, I feel like we see a lot of pressure on public from guys that hunt the same stand, same ladders. Maybe they got to hang on even, but like the non-mobile guys, the guys that are just rocking the Walmart camos, smoking cigs, those are the dicky mows. I fear the out-of-stater more because I know that guy's probably looked at maps and looked at them multiple times, and he's probably got decent equipment and decently committed if he's going to drive 8 hours to pursue whitetails.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it both ways. I've had guys that are legit, and then I've had guys that are like, "Oh, this is Illinois," you know what I mean? So, and then they know exactly how many booners were shot in the county, exactly how many Pope and Youngs were shot in the county the year before,
Sure.
And I actually had one guy, I hope he's listening, from Wisconsin. I gave him a ride. He was hunting a field edge. I came out, and it was dark, and he was packing up, and he's like, "Hey, my buddies are hunting over there. Do you mind giving me a ride?" Where he threw his climber in the back of my truck, and he got out of the truck and left the climber in the back of the truck, and I wasn't thinking about it, and I drove off. Neither, we just didn't get phone numbers or either, so I got his climber. So that's when you had the sign-in box back in the day, So
Sure.
I went in there. I said, "Hey, I have your climber. This is my number. Give me a call." Never got a call. Still got the climber. So hopefully this guy's listening. He's like, "Man, I did lose a Summit climber," or some guy's just gonna cold message me like,
Right.
"Yeah, I lost a Summit climber in Illinois."
yeah. Now the word's out.
So I always, public's different because you are competing against other people. But I'm always gracious, and everybody's trying to do the same thing. And I know if I see a guy back where I'm at, they put in as much work as me to get back there, as much scouting as me. So I try to be gracious. It's hard to do, man. You get that squirrel hunter that walks by and gives you the antler, thing on his head, like, "Oh, there's a big buck over here." I'm like, "Great, boy, he's not coming now." You know what I mean? I've been sitting here all day waiting for him.
Yeah. Yeah, dude,
those squirrel hunters are walkers, man. They are walkers.
They don't got to carry anything, and they don't got to carry a deer out of the woods, man.
Yeah.
I have a theory, and I've tested it. I need a couple more years, but like, I almost wonder in October if I should be hunting rabbit type habitat, like the grown up pastures, the CRP, because the squirrel blasters are in the timber.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, that might be not a bad idea, man.
and then flip it come November when rabbit season opens up, like. dude, I ran cams in a piece of public that got so much rabbit pressure. I had, I think, every 3 or 4 days I'd have pictures of rabbit hunters, right? And maybe one coyote. I ran 3 cameras over this like CRP swampy area. 0 pictures of deer because of how many rabbit hunters were in there like every 2 to 3 days. Like, and it was lit with sign, like hammer trails, big rubs. I found one decent buck bed, and like I ran a camera there in the summer, like on a bean field, kind of semi close by. Like, dude, I got like more 100 to 120 inches than some of my other cameras that are on better pieces. I'm like, huh, there must be. I'm thinking there might be something there as far as hunt the rabbit habitat in October and then switch it come November.
Yeah, if you got a bunch of small game hunters. I know we rabbit hunt in January. We rabbit hunt the state ground around here. So that's one thing I might ask you. Last year, when I was out there rabbit hunting, I'm scouting, of course. Do you guys have locust trees in your area?
Yeah, dude. You gotta watch them, man.
Have you noticed the deer hammering the locust pods late season?
Dude, 2 years ago, Dave and I found these hammer buck tracks, found a shed, followed these 2 better tracks. We're not expert trackers. I'm not Joe Elzinger, but that's an area we're trying to improve on. And we followed them right to a bunch of locust pods, and then they ducked off into the CRP. And I think late season that could be a decent little food source, especially due to if you can get those probably like close to some thicker bedding areas where they can eat like the browse and stuff.
Yeah, that's what this was. I was rabbit hunting, and you're hunting the thick stuff, during when you're out there rabbit hunting. And we came up to these locust pods, and they're just hammered. I mean, the ground's just destroyed. And
sure.
I'm like, we need to get in here, just do a set, like set up in one of these crazy curvy locust trees. And
dude,
if we see a bunch of
blood loss you have on the locust set?
Homie's got a tree and a locust tree. Like,
I did.
It's straight thorns, like 6 inches, and the only place is not thorns where the seat is and the ladder.
Dude, you laugh. So I have seen Cody DeQuisto do the same thing. He's like, dude, that was the best tree. That's where I had to be. And like, I look at this locust, dude, and it's got like, it's like one of them like killer locusts. Like, I'm like, dude, how much blood loss did you have hanging that set?
When it's the right tree, man, it's the right tree. You got to be there.
I'm just saying, homie's on the same thought as Cody. Like, I might need a trip to the ER, but I'm gonna kill a joker.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. The drive's there. You just got to make it happen. It's like that tree that we found out public. It's going to be brutal to get in. We're going to have to take like 6 steps, and we ain't going to be that high. It's just because the terrain's so weird there. Like, how you got to go up the tree. It's all viney, and it's going to be brutal. At least the stands adjust. That's all I'm saying, because it ain't going to be. And it's going to be, there's going to be cover, but the tree's going to be about 6 inches or 8 inches where our hang-on is, and it's one of those like, all right, he's right here. Let's make it happen. Don't move, because there's literally no other place to go.
Yeah. No, that's something like I'm starting to do more and more is hunt low and hunt those like, softball sized trees, man. Like, I feel like, one, you're hunting areas other guys probably aren't. And I've always gun hunted low. We've done that for ever since we got standing sticks, because, you could carry in like one stick and an 8er and get about 6 to 8 foot off the ground. You can see a good ways when you're gun hunting. But, I started hanging out, obviously doing some stuff with Cody DeQuisto, and that dude, he loves to rock 2 sticks, get up 10 foot area. And he's like, I just like doing that. And he's like, my shot angle's good. A lot of times I can find good cover at that distance. And he loves hanging in them small trees. I think it's that adrenaline rush of being, with that close quarters. And so last year I had a little more confidence to do that, and really started finding, that to be a something I like doing, and something I'm doing more and more of. And you talked about, I don't know how many times we're going to mention old pasture, but dude, those are the kind of trees that are in that stuff, and the deer are there. It just makes sense, man.
Yeah, it's like that. Like 6-year-old ash tree that's no one's looking at, that just is growing in this pasture of thorns and grass.
Right.
I don't know what those little bushes are. What are those bushes that just grow up like 6-7 foot
and then just kind of just go wider?
Just hold leaves forever. Yeah. That's where.
Dude, it's either autumn olive, which is like an invasive, or it's honeysuckle, which is like a cousin of it. You laugh. Forester guys will tell you to kill those on your places, but I've got a buddy who's kind of 50-50 forester and deer hunter, like manager. He's like, you may want to keep a few of those because, dude, they're great cover.
Yeah, and the deer, they hold green leaves forever. I see deer browsing them late season all the time, you know what I mean? So we actually jumped a deer, bedded right on the base of one of those.
Yeah.
We went back and hung cams.
Yep.
Couldn't get an idea of what it was, but it made a lot of noise getting up and out of there. And I think it just gives them the spot in that pasture to get a little bit of shade and give them something to lean up against of, you know what I mean? And they got escape routes everywhere there, you know what I mean? Because every 3 foot there's another little tree that they can dodge behind.
Yeah, it didn't take it didn't take long for it to get out of sight.
Yeah.
So
I think that's another thing. They could see good. I bet you, like, unlike a timber, you know, where in the late season you can see 150, 200 yards in some spots.
Right.
There you can't. And then I also wonder if it don't have something to do with, you know, most of the time that's flat ground, you know, where those overground pastures are. So, like, they don't have to worry about the thermals as much. If they have a direct wind, it's not swirling anywhere. It's blowing right at them.
Mm-hmm.
So I also think that might be a key to why they like those areas. And then also I think deer just like those transition zones. They like where it's heavy timber to that hilly, grassy, nasty area. They just like to flirt with the edge. And
yeah, dude, you are literally describing in farm country because I'm about 50-50 as far as, like, I hunt some big woods in Ohio where there is no ag. It's just big timber. It's terrain. It's maybe a hayfield, but like clear cuts or king and stuff like that. But like in ag land, I find most of my sheds in what you were describing as far as it. But it's also, I guess, on the public. It's got to be far enough away that the rabbit guys probably haven't got there as much. But yeah, it's that older. Oh, that older pasture, those grassier, those thick, nasty, locusty, just autumn olive and brushy stuff, dude. That's where it's at.
I think we figured it out, man. We're always deer scouting, but we should be rabbit scouting. Just going where the rabbits are, and the big buck's going to be there.
Our buddy Josh Prophet, he literally says if a rabbit loves it, a deer loves it. Or if a rabbit likes it, a deer loves it.
Yeah, that's true, man. I'm going to start rabbit scouting hard.
Oh, so hard. Dude, I've got a bird dog, and he's like, I have semi-trained him on sheds, but literally, we go to those areas, and I was so jacked, right? I see this solid side sticking out of the ground, and we're about 30 yards, and so he runs ahead, and he gets about 6 yards from this thing and just locks up, and I'm super jacked. I'm like, dude, shed training, all those hours is about to pay off. I see him turn to the left, stick his nose in a brush, and the bunny runs out. That dude chose rabbits over bow. And I'm like,
can't chase the light. I tried to train a border collie, and that's anything that moves in the wood is chasing. It's like it'll retrieve sheds. It'll be good for about 2 minutes, and then it sees the leaves move, and everything it's learned the past 3 years is gone.
Is she fixed?
Yeah.
So get this. I've got another Brittany Spaniel. She's like a year and a half, total pup. Like I've thrown an antler for her 6 times, and I'm shed hunting this year with a buddy, and we're in a thicket like you kind of described. Like we are looking at this tree that is about as round as a baseball, and you don't even need a stick to get in it. I'm like, dude, you got to hunt here. You got to put your stand as high as you can reach it and climb into this. And me and him are breaking down this tree and maybe breaking some branches because we're going to be in there this fall. And I turn around, and she has a 13-inch G2 shed. Buck's probably, we'll call him 140, but dude, he's got a 14 to 13-inch G2, biggest shed I've ever found. I have no idea where she found it. She's been trading on sheds for literally 3 tosses in the backyard. And dude, we got it on on video. But dude, I just praised her to death.
Oh yeah.
and get this, we're out in the big timbers. 3 weeks later, she finds another giant shed, a side of roughly 140-inch buck.
Man, some dogs just got it. I've always heard that some dogs just got it, and neither of mine do.
She's very chewy, bone driven. Bottom line, dude, she's always got to spot the truck for scouting.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, my lab I bought just for shed training, just the laziest dog ever. I threw a bone and it runs out there, picks it up, carries it 4 foot, drops it. I'm like, I'm selling you. getting rid of you. This is garbage.
Cut like a coach with his clipboard. Cut.
Yeah. Cut it. We're done. But,
Whoever's got a cold case of Busch Light can have this dog.
yeah. Yeah. So you've had some pretty good success on public, and I want to kind of break down. We like to ask this on a lot of people. What do you think if you could give like three main tactics that make you successful, what do you think it would be?
Ooh, 3 main tactics that make me successful. I would say I put public land deer hunting as a pretty big priority in my life. As far as like, I don't play. I used to play soccer in college. I don't play any soccer right now. I don't play any basketball. It's something I look at maps. 1 to 2 hours a week. It's a very big priority. Even tonight, I shot my bow for an hour. The previous day I was shooting again, 70 miles in the timber in the winter. I'll drive an hour and a half to literally pull a trail camera, scout for an hour, and then drive home to be with my wife, at 10 a.m. And I'll get up at 5 on Saturdays, kind of stuff. Number 2, I would say being the ability to have and hunt multiple good spots. So you've done your scouting, and then you've got the equipment to go in and hunt those spots. And I used to have, that $100 climber. To be honest, if I could tell somebody in college, I'd say, dude, just hunt on the ground. Don't even waste your $100 and buy that climber. I'd wait and either buy you a stand and sticks or buy you the $200 or $300 climber that's lightweight and mobile. I would say spend your money on the best mobile hunting gear you can get, and then maybe some boots and gas in your truck. Like I remember being in college, not having money, and thinking the biggest purchase after I got a good job was going to be a nice bow, a Matthews bow or whatever. Dude, I should buy a used Matthews bow, a couple of years old, buy the best mobile hunting equipment I can have, fill my gas tank as much as I can, and scout. So that would be number 2. Number 3, tactic that I want to be. I would say time management. And that boils down into a lot of factors. But dude, if you can get up earlier and drive to that better piece of public, because it's an hour and a half away and not just like 45 minutes, I would say that kind of like maybe discipline is something that you got to look at. Because you're going to have to sacrifice sleep. You're going to have to sacrifice, time, time with your friends even. You're going to have to get up earlier. You're going to have to be disciplined about your approach. I think that's it. Even the guys I hunt with, I'm probably the one that gets the most time just based on my life situation and how bad I want it. And I think it boils down to some of that discipline, time management. I get up early. I get up every day like 4:35 a.m. I edit for a bit and then go to my day job. But I'm also able to then, get off the day job and either go glass a night or 2 a week. On weekends, dude, I can't remember the last time I got up on a weekend past 6 a.m. I just get up at 5 and I either go run some trail camera stuff. Maybe I go, even glass in the mornings. Like, as crazy as that sounds, dude, I laid eyes 2 to 3 weeks ago on the same buck I've been watching all summer in the morning, solo now, not running with a bachelor group. And I know he was kind of headed towards the general direction, and he was up 30, 40 minutes after daylight. Like, he's not going to go very far after that.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, those are the 3 things that I feel like took me from a guy that was super passionate about deer hunting to being able to like get that opportunity at more good bucks on public land here in Ohio.
Yeah, I think those are all key. I know Homie, you stepped it up. Homie used to play softball, used to be a champ at that, used to ride Harleys all the time, go on bike rides, and he pretty much gave up everything. What, 2 years ago or
Yeah.
2 years ago? And since you've done that, have you feel like you've learned like way more than you were back just 2 years ago before you were doing all that?
Yeah, I have, and I credit a lot of that to doing this every week, talking to different people throughout the country, really listening, and not only this show, but all the other podcasts that I listen to. Watching people like the Whitetail Experience hunt different ways and try different things. If you just really go all in, it's amazing what you can learn in just a short period of time.
Yeah. No, I really, I think you hit it 100% on the head. And, realizing too that that's also easier on the family. If you're not spreading yourself so thin with softball or golf or some of these other things, if you okay, I want to be able to shoot big bucks. And then, most of us got families. I know you guys got families, it's literally like, that little balance, and you take all those other things that are kind of distractions or time away from your family, and it's just whitetails, family life, job, and let's be real, that job it's the 9 to 5, man. I know you guys put in a lot of hours behind this brand, and then you also want to be good deer hunters, and then it's the family life. Yeah, I think Homie just hit it on the head, man.
Yeah, I think so too. I that's all I do is talk about deer, do something deer, run a podcast, and work, and take care of the family. That's literally it. I have no other hobbies. Like, I don't watch sports. I don't do anything. I don't have time. It's either it's all whitetail or nothing. And like me and Homie say it all the time. It's so hard for us to find guys that are like us. We work in a construction trade, like rough guys. And there's some deer hunters, but there's no one like me and Homie where it's just like eat, sleep, breathe, let's kill some giant deer. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like that's what separates people that are successful year after year and the people that aren't. And it's just dedication is what I think it is. It's not letting yourself quit and not being satisfied. Like you said, waking up earlier because your chances are better on this piece of public that's a little further than the one that's close.
Sure. Yeah, dude, that's 100%. Like, I feel like, kind of your mission behind this podcast is those second tier killers, those average Joes killing above average bucks. I'm going to coin that phrase.
There you go.
That's pretty solid.
But, you what are those guys doing? And it's literally like whitetails are a very big priority in their life.
Yep. And, that was the one thing I told myself when, that's what I decided I was going to do. And, I'll be completely transparent. 4 or 5 years ago, I hardly picked up my bow in the summer. I was just an okay archer. But now, I'm not that good of an archer now, but, I know a lot more. I've shot this year. I thought I shot my bow a lot last year, but this year I've even stepped that up a little bit more. I'm shooting 5 to 6 nights a week, so I'm probably getting anywhere from 150 to 200 arrows. I feel like my 40 is like my 20 used to be, 2 years ago. So, and it's amazing how fun archery is, or just shooting in general, when you're good at it. You know what I mean? You're just not like spraying and praying.
Or even when you can decipher why you're being bad at it. You're like, I dropped my arm,
Yep.
or this wasn't right, or I flinched my hand. It's small stuff that like once you shoot a while, you're like, well, that's why I'm just like the other night I snapped you. I'm like, I did good, but I dropped my arm, this last 2 sets.
And Byron, I'm sure you can attest to this. Like, I work out 6 days a week, and I was shooting 2 weeks ago, and for like 3 days in a row, I shot really bad. Not really bad, but I wasn't shooting to where I thought, and it kind of wore on me mentally, but it was because I had a really good chest day, and my chest was sore, and then I just told myself that's what it is. So I put my bow down for 2 days. I didn't shoot, and then kind of felt like my body was recovered, and went out there, and I was back to what I would call my normal self. So just like Cody said, it's just doing them things and learning and recognizing that, why am I shooting bad?
Sure. And I know you guys put a lot of time behind either trail camera inventory, putting trail cameras out. And I saw a couple weeks ago, you were glassing some fields, and you'd been there the week before, had to move your truck. And I think too, you're putting in that extra little effort. And I find myself doing more and more. I don't shoot like I used to. I used to be kind of into some 3D stuff, and I spend more time now scouting than I do behind the bow. And that's also, hanging out with some of those guys that look at the bow as almost just like a tool, and it's not really like a huge part of what they do. But yeah, I feel like, dude, it's those little extra efforts that kill deer. And I say that little details kill deer. Do you wake up 10 minutes earlier? Do you take your trail camera photos and throw in a wind factor? Do you see a buck and then check the weather and what's it doing? Monday, do you check the schedule for the week and realize Thursday it's going to drop 10 degrees? And even though it's August 3rd, but it's going to drop 7 degrees or 10 degrees from the day before, that's probably the best night to go glassing. So I'm going to take care of my wife Monday, Tuesday. I'm going to be do something on Wednesday, but Thursday I'm going glassing because that's probably the best day. Everything you guys have just said, definitely resounds with me.
I think you just smoked it right there. If you start doing them little things and, you see the benefits of it, it's going to become just, part of your routine, part of your habit, and it's not going to feel like extra work at some point if you just keep doing it.
Sure, yeah.
And then that's when it really becomes a game changer, because then you're doing a little bit more to feel like that you're actually working. Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, you're just like us three. Yeah, us three are talking. We're just really in it now.
Oh yeah, dude. And I've got it every day. I got to do something that's whitetail related, just for my hunting prep or purposes, whether that be messing with gear, washing my clothes, looking at the weather, looking at maps. Hell, even when I go to Costco, I'm like, do I need batteries for my trail cams? Because that's the best price I found.
Yeah. You're always thinking about something. My wife said that's all I think about. She's always telling me, do you ever... She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, looking at trail cam pics. She's like, that was from 3 years ago. I'm like, yeah, but it was, you never know when it might come in handy. So she's like, you killed that buck. I'm like, I know. I'm just seeing, why he was there, going through the stuff. But this isn't something that we covered. I think it'd be really cool because we haven't covered it. But I want to know what your goals are for public this year. And then I think we should go over ours. That's something that we haven't really covered.
Yeah, so my public land goals, I've got 3, obviously. First and foremost in Ohio, it's a little, I got 4. So first and foremost here in Ohio, I kind of want to shoot a quality buck. And for me, what does that look like? I'll say a mid to upper 30s, 10, maybe 130K is kind of where I'm at. I know from trail camera scouting, blah, blah, blah. If I put that kind of deer down, that's a top buck that I'm able to get on to. Number 2, and this is something that I do a really good job. I feel like the last 5-ish years of off-season scouting. But number 2 is in-season scouting, and what to me that looks like is scouting my way in. Obviously, we talked about that a little bit earlier, but October 10s and average temperatures, I don't need to sit for 2.5, 3.5. Dude, I'm good at sitting in trees because I'm dude, I don't want to tear down. But I need to hunt that first hour and a half, tear down, and go for scouts. I got enough pins from Onyx off-season scouting that I can go find what's hot, and that's something that is a huge thing that hanging around with Cody and Andre DeQuisto, I can mirror what they're doing. And they have this philosophy, hunt, scout, hunt. And every day you've got to do something. And it could just be driving around and monitoring hunting pressure. It could be, okay, I've got this trail camera maybe 200 yards from a parking lot. But I can go check that and maybe get some sort of lead. But for me, number 2, in-season scouting, popping over to oak trees, stuff like that, dude. That is a huge area of an improvement. If I look at my whitetail bucket, that's a hole that I want to get plugged. Number 3, owning trail cameras on public. Like in years past, I've just like set them aside, let them soak, or just like not even use them. And like I'm to the point now, I've got blueprints on these areas. I've got the skills and abilities to go find these bucks. If I get a picture of a buck, that's a huge thing for me. Like I can, especially a good one. Like those aren't very common on public land, but I've got the skills, abilities, and I've got the time right now that I can go find that deer, or at least maybe get a good, decent crack at him. He may not live on public, but to make that effort after finding that trail camera. So that's 3. And then out of state, dude, I love to kill an out of state. My standards get a little reduced out of state. I'm kind of looking for that 120-ish buck. I'll be hunting probably Indiana and then maybe flirt with another state. It just kind of depends at this point. But I'd love to hear what you guys got in mind and what you think, this season's going to entail, because it sounds like you guys are going to hunt public maybe more than the last couple of years.
I think we're going to hunt it more than private, to be honest with you. Public or urban, one or the other. Or suburban. Suburban.
Suburban.
It's all the
Suburban
same.
sounds cool.
Yeah, suburban.
You've been seeing too many big bucks killed by Seek One.
Yeah, no. I'm in on the suburban this year, man. I found me a little nest egg. We're going to see what happens. So go ahead, homie. You run yours, and then I'll run mine.
So my first goal is to just hunt. Like, you literally go in there, pack it in. I got a new lone wolf setup, sticks and stand. Just to literally go out there and hunt is my first goal. Like, because, you got to hunt to even be in the game. So, step 1, just hunt. Second goal is to shoot a deer. Just, whether it be a deer, a doe, or, then I'll put my third one out there as just, I don't know what size, like, I know where my standards are at on private, pretty much. I'm looking for the 135 and up buck. I don't know if I'll be able to pull that back and drop down to like a 120 or something that would be,
You have to see what the trail cans read,
Yeah.
man. You just have to go off what they, and what they've read so far.
If you got like 6,
so it's hard to
solid
say.
bucks
We
out
got
there.
3 solid, so it's hard to say like, I'm going to back it off, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Public lane 6, though, he's gone.
Are you going to smoke him?
Yeah, dude,
I'm
I
on the
would.
edge. I'm on the
I
edge
heard you guys
right now.
talk about it.
I'm on the edge about that buck, but is that it? Is that all your
Yeah, just 3. Yeah.
3? Mine is, my number 1 goal is I want to see if my winter scouting coincides with what actually is going to happen. Because I tell homie, like, this looks good, but I might be completely batshit crazy. You know what I mean? I think this what might be happening. You know what I mean? But it'd be satisfying to me either way, because it's going to be learning. Like, if I think this is what's going to happen and then it's like nothing, I'm like, well, okay, yeah, that was dumb. I'm not going to do that again.
Sure.
Or I read this wrong. What is actually going on? So I'm excited for that, because
And the thing about it is, like, we're just going to have to let the year play out, because, like you said, you were back in there during shed season, middle of February, middle of March, and, that's when you were seeing all that sign. So, the trail cams might be shit right now.
Yeah, they might be, and they might not turn on till late October or
exactly.
November.
So you're just going to have to let the year play out, and, we'll just revisit this, at the beginning of next year.
That's one thing me and homie always say. You need a year or two somewhere to get that data, because we just dove into this new piece of public. It's a pretty good jaunt, you know what I mean? But it's worth going because the pressure's lower.
Sure. See, we just talked about that. Yeah.
And it's kind of a little hidden gem. But the thing is, like I said, I want to see if what's there, what I think's happening. I did run cams on it last year. Was on some megas, some really nice deer. Like I said, I had never seen a shooter though. Trail cam pics showed them there. Nocturnal. I had 1 buck. That Tim is probably 150. It's probably really nice. The short tined heavy 10.
Yeah, and then he was running with the mega.
Yeah, he was running with the mega.
Yeah.
I had him. I was getting him like 45 minutes past dark, so I knew where he was bedding.
And you were moving the cams back.
And I was moving bread trailing the cams back, trying to follow him, And I knew I had a really good idea where he's bedding, but he's one of those bucks that I was like, I was stuck on my private land phase. Like, I'm just gonna play it safe. If I would have crushed in and went after that. So that's my second goal. I want to be insanely aggressive
I know you're Mr. Tiptoe, man.
I'm the tiptoe as hell on my private, dude. I am scared to death at the hunting pressure around me. There's nothing worse than seeing a 180's 8 get crushed by the neighbor. You know what I mean? Like a once-in-a-lifetime 8-pointer. I'll send you pics, dude. When you see it, you're like, oh, yeah, that's 180. People say that, hear me say that, and they're like, oh, he don't even know what he's talking about. But, dude, it is a mega, and I had him at 65 yards. My grandpa from Missouri almost shot him that same day. You know what I mean? And I got sheds off of him the year before that, you know, and he's probably like a 140's 8 then. He's got like a foot brows. You know what I mean? They're ridiculous. But
I just want to, Byron, I believe 14 hours before, 16 hours before Cody shot Mr. Freeze, we were literally sitting in the stand together, and Cody's like, you know, man, what am I doing wrong? You know, I haven't had like a real solid opportunity this year. And I just told him, I said, you need to be more aggressive, you know? I mean,
Homie, you tell him that.
I did. Literally 16 hours before he shot Mr. Freeze. And then he goes back to that set the next morning and then shoots him.
Yeah, and it wasn't the ideal conditions to be there.
Sure.
And I told the homie, I said, it's good enough. And then I was like, I know how this draw plays.
Mm-hmm.
When I got in that stand, it was money. The wind was blowing money. But when you're not in that draw, it wasn't money.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And it was almost like no matter what the way the wind was, it was always
the same.
Yeah, it was always northeast.
It's always blowing down that creek bottom, northeast.
Yeah.
Something about it, coming off that ag field, that open area, hitting that hard block of timber and cutting down that draw. It was money, but that homie was right. He told me to be more aggressive. So that's my second goal. I just want to be like last year. If I get a buck where I like almost guarantee, like this buck was bedding in an 80-yard strip, water on one side, ag on the other. And like if I crest the hill over that ag, he gone. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and like my family has 18 acres, and dude, like the best thing I learned about that 18 acres is not hunting it is probably the best thing to do. But like on public,
yeah, I gotta go cray. I told homie, I said I want to go in and hunt off the ground and do some rattle stuff on certain points that I found. I want to do some crazy stuff. I said if it doesn't work, no one to know. But if it works on cam, it's gonna be epic, right? Like,
right?
You know what I mean? Like,
me and you was texting earlier this week about like, dude, hunting bedding areas in the morning, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of aggressive, dude, but like,
that stuff scares me, man. It's scary.
I will blast into a bedding area like 2 hours before daylight. And my thought is too is like, well, I'm either gonna kill him, see something that tells me I need to hunt here again, or if it's not hot or if I don't have the opportunity, oh well, I gave it like my best effort, and I have so many of those bedding areas that I know could hold a good one or are gonna be holding does for the rut. Like I can do that. I can afford to do that. But like, yeah, like I understand the private land tiptoe method.
I mean, I've been super successful, 21-acre piece and a 40-acre piece to kill the bucks that I have without bumping them off.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You know, targeting and killing them. But like I said, public, I gotta go more homie on this. I just gotta go in on like homes and say, hey, dudes, I'm here. Let's party. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my game plan.
And I think those skills, like that combination, probably is going to make you a better deer hunter in, let's call it like 2 to 3 years. You'll like, I feel like those guys, and basically what this podcast is about is finding those next level killers that are working the jobs, and average Jones don't have a TV show, but like all those guys are aggressive when they should be, and then also tiptoe when they should be. And you know, guys like you and I in our stage of life, we're wanting to be that new class of next level killers. I think by you guys spending time on public and understanding kind of some of that mobile game, some of that aggressive game, some of that scouting is the key game, I guarantee you will turn around and apply that to your private land, and you guys will kill more deer because of your time on public.
I think so too. Last year I did 8 pack-in hunts, and I told homie, I said, I want to double or triple that this year and really try to. And last year I didn't do it with the best equipment, and we got good stuff this year. We spent some money and made some good equipment, and we're going to try to dig in. Third goal, or like my stigma or what I want to shoot. I'm
Sure.
not 100% positive. I would really like to just shake the world and shoot a 193 and then shoot like a 120. You know what I mean? Because I just think it would be just a mature, nasty, like, I imagine this 10-pointer. He's got like 4 broken tines. You know what I mean? Just like a 120 class buck. He's got like 4
He's got
broken
a broken
tines.
nose, too.
Yeah, he's just tore up, you know. And then I go from that picture to that picture, like the profile picture. I think that'd be super solid. With Public Land 6, I got back-to-back history with them. I think that's a 4 or 5-year-old deer. Just the
Same rack.
same rack. I mean, exact same. Little more massy, little more main beam length. Might scored 90 inches, 80 inches.
Yeah, I'm thinking
know what I
80,
mean?
dude.
But just a sick deer, you know, that you got history on Public with, got trail cam picture of them, seen him last year, passed him last year. I think that'd be cool. I don't think I could shoot that though. That's what I'm just saying. I don't think I could mentally be like, okay, here's a buck tag and it's gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
But us being a 2-buck state, that's something we have going for us, and it depends on the time of year. If it's getting later and the 6 walks
Sure,
out,
yeah.
maybe. You know what I mean? But
Dude, people lie. Dude, your standards for the average dude, I bet they shift and they adjust, and
oh yeah.
you can only kill the biggest buck that's on the tees.
Oh man, we know there's some megas on there. That's the problem. You know,
Oh!
and you know, and the stuff that butts up to it is just some of the most incredible ground around. You know,
Sure.
I mean, if you look and see what's killed off there, you're like, okay, wow, all right, we're on to something here. And then you run trail cameras, and how many points did that buck have last year? Like 15, 16?
He had a lot, yeah.
Probably high 160s, 170 class deer, repeated on cam, on Public. You know what I mean? That just don't happen all the time.
And then you found really good shed.
Yeah.
You found your biggest shed on a pinch point coming
Yeah.
off of Public.
I got permission on a piece that's right next to where I wanted to hunt on Public, literally just a waterway, and the deer literally had one option: go to Public or stay, you know, on that waterway, or go to the other piece of Public. And I found what was it? 82-inch typical side, you know,
Jesus.
coming off that Public, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, they're here. That's where I'm at, you know. Like I really need to pull cams. We did a soft pull. There's an 8 that is frequenting a lot on the scrape in the area. I got him on all 4 cams. Like I'd seen him how he's transitioned in the area, kind of piece it together, and he's probably like a mid 130s 8, really solid deer.
Sure. 130s 8.
He's probably a shooter. I'm one of those guys that, like, in the moment, I got to see him, unless you pull the cam and you're like, oh, shit. You know, when you pull the cam and you see it, you're like, oh, shit, yeah, we got something here, you know. You get that higher pitched voice going.
I'm the best judge of the velvet shrinkage.
Yeah,
or
I'm a
he stays
terrible
there,
I'm
know?
a terrible velvet guy. Like, I see a buck, I'm like, yeah, I can't. I'm just thinking he's going to be spindly underneath that velvet, and you really never know, you know what I mean?
It's terrifying.
But
yeah, I have yet to see a deer come out of velvet and be like, he's still got all the mass I thought
yeah,
he had. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, dude. I am king of the 118-inch 8-pointer right now.
Oh yeah, man. That's what we were telling everybody. If you want to kill a 110 8-pointer, dude, if you want to go to an outfitting business that can get you on that, I am your guy, because I can dominate the 2.5-year-old or 3-year-old 110, 120 8-pointer. I'm just crushing the game on that.
Dude, I literally called my sister right before this. I said, Liz, I was like, you want to shoot a buck with your bow? I was like, you just come hunt with me, because I have got some trail cameras flooded in this area full of 108, 18-inch 8-points. And like, I was like, I don't want to shoot that deer. You hunt with me 5-6 hunts. I was like, you'll get your opportunity. Now, 130, there's 130-inch 8 there. And I told her, I was like, you got to understand, like, I'm the one who put on 70 miles.
Yeah. Don't be shooting the 130. You know, I mean, if you're with me, I'm gonna have.
Like, you gotta understand. Like, if I say I'm shooting this deer, like, there is no and is for buts. But like I said, 90% of the deer that are gonna walk by us in bow range, I was like, you can shoot them.
Yeah, I told homie that last year. We're hunting in the stand, and we had like, if he would have had both sides the same, he'd been like a 160s 8. He's got like a 16-inch G2, you know, but he's got like a one side that's like a 128, and the other side's like a 168, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm still sending.
Oh yeah, it's an epic buck. Got some base kickers and stuff. I said, homie, if this deer comes by, wide open, but if Freeze comes by, bro, I'm sorry, I'm shooting him. I just straight up called it. I'm like, I'm filming you tonight. I brought my bow. If Freeze any other deer, I said, I don't care if a 200 walks by, you can crush him. But if it's Freeze, I want him. You know what I mean? So, but I'm the same way. I'd be the same way with, just like your sister, my wife. I had one buck when she started hunting hard. I had 110 that was really nice. I had on trail cam a lot, and I was like, this buck I'm probably gonna shoot. And then a really nice 8-pointer comes out like 130. I'm like, oh, man, I ain't shot anything yet this year. I'm like, just shoot it, just get it over with. So, but I pretty much killed that deer. She just pulled the trigger. That was it. But she brought mott sticks to the blind and one to leaf 30 minutes before dark. So that's what I'm saying. If I wouldn't have been there, it wouldn't have ended good. So. All right, man.
That was pretty good conversation there.
Real good. Tell the people where you can find find Whitetail Experience, and follow your content.
Sure. So I'd love for them to check out our YouTube channel. I think something we do that's, I try to put together good video content on like our films, our hunts. We've killed some decent deer here in the last couple of years, but we also got a decent amount of like real, like, oh, this is a gear we use, or we break down gear, like as far as like, hey, I like this, or this is like, using step aiders. That's something too. We cover a wide variety of public land type, run and gun type videos on there. And so I think that page, oh shit, we got a decent amount of videos. I think we got over 100 videos on there, but we cover a wide variety of topics. Instagram, Facebook, obviously, but that's kind of the day-to-day stuff. We try to post quality photos and images on Facebook. Something we're trying to do a little bit more recently is post some of those, actually really identical to this podcast, some of those second-tier tactics and discussions around hunting and what makes a guy successful, or what's the best $50 gear. There's so much trash out there on some of the bigger groups. We try to post stuff that's actually relevant or people can find good information on, and so that's definitely out there.
Yeah, I like getting on those a lot. I comment frequently. I read every comment and kind of go through, and when you read them, you're like, would that work for me?
Yeah.
Would that not work for me? You're kind of going through it. And there's a lot of times like, I don't think that would work, but I've never tried it. You know what I mean? So that's a good learning place for people to learn too. To go on there. And we had the hard question of the day on Twitter for like 6 months. And we broke it down like that, and got a lot of good feedback and learned a lot of solid tips on there. Stuff that people that you never think about, like put your hot hands in Ziploc bags so they last longer and stuff after you use them. Just small stuff that you're like, yeah, never even dawned on me that I could do that,
Sure. Like I messaged a dude the other day. He's like, dude, I killed like $3 in the last 3 years on scrapes. I'm like, okay, you're sliding into my DMs. Let me ask you what you're doing. Dude, he was hunting morning scrapes close to bedding. And he was saying October 15th through the 30th. And it was just like, I was able to engage with him because I realized by what he commented, dude, that's a second tier killer. I need to follow up on that lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, that stuff's all out there. And then, I do obviously some of the work with Lone Wolf Custom Gear. A lot of my, like, some of the photos, some of the videos, those are produced by me. And that's, I'm kind of, I'm pumped about that, dude. That's a brand that chose to kind of believe in me as a producer, and I take pride in my work there. So I would say those couple avenues, definitely check them out. And I would say this podcast too, like I enjoy what you guys do and the films, but also like the weekly podcast. I think you guys do a good job. So my hats are off to you guys, and anybody that likes or comments or follows both pages. I appreciate those guys and gals.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it. We've been following you for a long time. I don't know. Last year when you killed your buck, and we seen that and everything. So super cool that before we had a podcast or anything like that, you don't get to make the deep connections like we did with you. You know, we've been on the phone for an hour and a half now. It's hard to get a person on the phone for an hour and a half. So we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate you making content for guys like us. You know what I mean? And I feel like that goes untold a lot, you know, because it's really easy to watch Sportsman Channel. But just like you said, when you get past that killing stage and you get to like, okay, how are these guys doing that? Well, I can't pay to go to 5 outfitters this year. You know what I mean? How am I going to get it? And then they revert back to pages like you know, where you're getting it done, or pages like us where it shows a couple guys that really don't know what they're doing. That just hunts a lot and get, you know, and gets it done. You know what I mean? And that's
no, and I think your guys' mission and our mission, that evolving deer hunter, and that guy that, like I said earlier, the average guy who works a 9 to 5 that wants to kill above average bucks. I think that they need to be listening to this podcast, looking at our YouTube channel, your YouTube channel, and that's I think that's going to be the future of this industry. I think people are tired of watching the outfitted hunts, the guys with the big farms. I really think there's a direction change going on right now.
So do I. I think it's huge. I mean, it's always cool to see Jury put down a giant buck. I mean, that's not going to get old, but eventually people are going to be like, I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Can't replicate it.
You can't replicate it. So they're gonna have to reach out somewhere. And like I tell a lot of people that the videos and the podcast never go away. So I hope someone that's just getting into hunting 5 years from now stumbles into your content and it's like, hey, you know, this guy's on public ground. He's just hunting out of a tree stand. He's 10 foot off the ground, you know, and he's killing bucks. So I'm going to go do that. And that's what I want to see. And that's kind of another reason why me and Homie are pushing the public, is because we want to be a voice for, you know, the average guy killing above average bucks, like you said. And I feel like I want to know, like, I know the struggles, but I want to deeply know the struggles of hunting public. Like, I want to get out there and I want to be that guy that's on here. It's like, all right, it's December. I haven't killed a buck yet. You know, my year's coming. It's coming. You know what I mean? And I want to be that guy, and I think people can relate to that. And at the end of that year, you sit down, and I want to break it down on podcasts. This is where I succeeded. This is where I think I failed. This is the reason I don't think I was successful. And I think people could absorb value from that, other than some guy saying, okay, I've killed 15 bucks. This is how you do it. There's only one way to kill bucks. You know, you do this. So
sure.
We're always trying to find some new outlet, new way to teach ourselves. See, that's why we started the podcast. I said, what would be better than to talk to people from all over the country every week and learn something? You know what I mean? And then we get to listen to it again because we'll forget half the stuff we heard the first time.
I definitely mirror that, and I really look forward to that, like, kind of season wrap up talk that you guys will probably do, kind of maybe January, February time frame. And I really do look forward to, like, okay, we hunted public land, and this is what we learned, and this is how we're going to apply it to any hunting, not just public land. But yeah, I look forward to that, man.
Yeah, me and Homie have had this idea of having people on, and then we want to have like a collaboration. Did I say that right? Collaboration at the end of season.
Sure.
And say, you know, just 20 minutes. We'll put like 4 guys on that we've had on and say, okay, you know, let's talk about the buck that you were hunting this year. How'd it go? You know, and then why do you think it went that way? What was the tactic that made that? And then put that in you know, there might be half might be successful, half might not, but you get that collaboration. Homie kills me on my vocab and spelling. My collaboration of the normal guy that's like, okay, you know, this is why he thinks this guy wasn't successful, and then maybe one guy can relate to that. So that's something that we are going to do. So hopefully we can have you back on after you kill like a 160 on public this year. And
I love putting that. Let's put that out there. You know, I'm a very big believer on positive thoughts, and so I like that. I like that a lot.
You're going to kill like a 160 11-pointer with 2 base kickers.
Okay.
Probably like the 23rd of October. That's just a random day.
That.
Just calling it out.
It's like a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's like a Wednesday midday. It's going to be 92.
It is Wednesday.
Let's go a morning bedding area, beat him back to bed kind of.
Oh, man, that'd be epic. So, yeah.
Dude,
we'll plan it now. We'll schedule to have you back on at the end of season, or even after someone killed. I think it'd be cool to have him back on and
Sure.
break it down, But we appreciate you coming on, man. I let this one run a little long because I knew it was going to be good, and we had such a good conversation going. I didn't want to cut her short, so we appreciate you spending some time with us tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and definitely, any of your listeners definitely need to push the like button on this podcast, leave them a review, because I've done the same, and I appreciate what you guys do on a regular basis.
That is what we call a heater.
Yeah, that was a good one, man. There's a lot of tactics in there. We were bouncing back and forth. Really good conversation. We went like 50 minutes and didn't even look at a note. We were just ripping, you know what I mean? So that was a lot of fun. I feel like he's one of those guys you could, just like the Last Breath guys when we get him in studio, you can just bounce back and forth with them guys because you relate so well to them. You can just talk and talk and talk, and they got so much knowledge that you can barely an hour, you just barely get the surface of, you know what I mean? So
yeah, one thing I want to bring up is, he was talking about hunting like in your old ways, and you got to break out of that, and he's gonna hunt a little lower in some trees this year because it's the right spot to be. So one thing I took away is kind of break out of your mold, because if you just keep doing the same stuff, you're probably just going to get the same results. And everybody's got that stand that's just fire. You can go there and have really good hunts, but try something new, and you never know what's going to happen until you do it.
Yeah, I like that he said, us breaking out of our shell and trying something new is going to make us better hunters in the long run.
Yeah.
Because it's either going to end two ways. It's going to end terribly bad, or it's going to be epic, like I said. It's either going to end up like, wow, I should have been doing this forever, or maybe that didn't work out too well for me, you know what I mean? So, but you never know until you try it,
And we'll learn more by it being garbage.
Exactly. And you might, be able to do the same thing, just tweak it a little bit and be successful.
And it's going to take 8 garbage ideas to find the one
that's just banger.
Yep.
That's like 8 episodes are pretty much garbage, and then we get one solid one. All our listeners are like, yeah, that's about right. That's about right. But all right, man, we always say it. We love you guys. Get out there and kill a dang deer, because we're probably struggling to kill a deer right now. Leave a legacy. Make some blood trails. Whitetail Legacy's out.